No! Welcome back, mere mortalites, to another wonderful edition of Meanderings. We are meandering outside in the park. Once again, outdoors. Meanderings is a session for us here at the Mere Mortals to converse about much more of the lighthearted things that have been happening in our day-to-day life, things that we're finding of interest, things we want to bounce off each other and the like. You've got Juan here on the one side.
Yeah, Karen here on the other side.
And it is indeed time to start meandering. Now, we had some animals approach us just not too long ago.
Okay.
Which were the form of dogs. And there's a few birds. There's a few birds out and about at the moment, especially magpies. Now, it's swooping season. I don't know if you know or aware of this.
I am aware because of the bloody myna bird that lives where I work out.
Oh, right.
Comes and clicks at my head probably, I'd say 5 times a session.
Nice. So it keeps you on your toes. Now, I had an interesting experience. Now, for those who aren't aware, magpie season here is between September and I think November, or like something like around those times. Anyways,
springtime.
So that's springtime when, you know, the baby maggies are getting created. They're trying to protect their young. So and it's fair enough. It's fair enough, right? Now you can have dogs coming up to you like this, and this is nice and soft. However, getting attacked by a magpie is not fun.
No.
And I've got a little story, an interesting story to tell about this. So I was in my own dominion. I wasn't even in the magpie's world. I was within my own solitude, right?
Yeah.
I was at home. I was sitting on my veranda, right?
Well, are you ever not in their dominion, right? Because they go after bike riders, like
that's
the
true.
most non-threatening people out, because they're literally going past their nest at 20 k's, 30 k's an hour, and yet they still chase them.
That's okay. That's a pickle. That's a pickle.
Every dominion is the magpie's dominion.
That is true. However, I was to paint you a bit of a picture. I was sitting on my veranda. The veranda has an overhang, so you know if it rains or whatever, I'm not going to get rained on. It's just a nice place, and I'm sitting there with a partner having some food, right? Having some food, drinking some water, and having a coffee. And all of a sudden, I see this magpie out of the corner of my make its first move, and it's sort of like swoops like it's going directly at us, and then pulls up at the last second, and then sits on top of the roof. Right?
Yep.
But I can see it. It's probably 1.5 meters to my left. I can see it above me, and as I keep peering at it, I go, "This is odd. What's happening? Like this is not a normal act that a magpie would do." And I could see it kind of peering down, looking down, beak over the top. We're having some toast, and I thought, okay, maybe there's not an act of defiance here that they're trying to protect the young. Perhaps they're just hungry. That's what they're doing. But I thought this is still odd. Why is the magpie just like hanging out here? Is it just that? Now I don't know what happened next. I don't know how to communicate in magpie form, but I could see it like tap on the roof. I saw it tap on the roof and look around, and all of a sudden another magpie comes out of nowhere, dude. Goes like directly at us, and then just slowly pulls away and then sits on the railing, 40 centimeters from my right hand. Right,
Yeah.
So I've got a magpie 1.5 meters to my left. There's other magpies staring us down.
Yeah, I'd
on the
actually
right-hand
be
side.
starting to get nervous because
Now,
they can attack eyes.
And
like,
the position that I was in, it had blocked us off from going back inside the door because the door would swing towards me.
Okay.
So I actually couldn't get into the house in an easy enough way. You'd have to be challenging the magpie directly here, right? And then this is when it got serious. The magpie on the roof, if you can remember, top left-hand side, swung down in front of us now. Right in front of us, in the like a little balustrade in front of us now. So they're basically now staring us down. They're starting to like walk towards closer. I did a swift little hand movement. No movement. They did not even move it a single inch.
Yeah.
So desperate time came to desperate measures, and I had to be like, quick, babe, give me a little bit of bread. So I grabbed a little bit of the bread with stuff. I like swung it in their face. Swung it down into the bottom because it's a 2-story. They flew down there and we're like, go. Got to go move, right? We moved inside. These magpies came back in there and stood on the chairs and started just wandering around, just back and forth. So I don't know at this point if were they after food? Because maybe I did give them a bit of food and so they thought, there's probably more food there. But I have a feeling that they've made ground somewhere. They've started to raise their family somewhere local. And I've just decided that veranda is their space. And I was going to take a video because it was in the morning and the sun rises where we look from in the veranda. And if you look back into the house, all you could see was a ginormous shadow of a bird, like the magpie, walking back and forth, like stalking the house. So I was like, damn, dude, these magpies, they're not messing around.
You're
so
gonna get wrecked.
I ended up having to go get a broom, get outside, and just like swing it so they could just go away. And then they deserted. But it filled a little bit of dread in my heart by the next time I had to go to the car. I was thinking, are they going to attack me next time I go down? You know, is it going to be one of those things? I've had the displeasure of running around somewhere and a bird. It was like a 5 kilometer run. I was 4 kilometers in and I could feel something in my hair. I was like,
was this around the AFL field?
No, this wasn't the AFL field. It was Logan Reserve. And I could feel something in my hair. I was like, what's going on? Noticed there was a magpie attacking me. I'm kind of tired at this point, and I sprinted down to the middle of the oval. So I was like, oh man, I'm incredibly tired. Kind of ran it off and then ran straight into some plovers. And then so I had to keep on like sprinting. And it was funny because I checked the stats I remember after
your heart
that.
rate
and my heart rate and my pace was like so good in the last kilometer, but I was wrecked. Anyways, it was so I don't mind when dogs come around and kind of see themselves, but when you have some birds, like this one's a fine one, but a magpie coming out, I was like, okay, there's some intent here. There's some malice in the eyes.
There's a lot to explore here. First of all, you've lost your house unless you're willing to fight back.
That's what I mean. That's why I had to get the broom. I had to get the broom because I thought to myself, okay, if I let them stroll around like they've owned it, they'll feel like they've reserved
100%.
I started thinking, do I put a cooked chicken out there? Kind of going,
I don't,
I'll eat your brethren. Like I'll eat things that I like.
They will eat the chicken, man. I don't think magpies are carnivorous. I'm pretty sure. So
yes, because they
just eat
insectivores. Yeah, insectivores. So perhaps maybe I need to get like a dead magpie and put it on the front of my porch. That's getting a bit
psychotic and gross.
Perhaps. So me Immortalites, please let me know if you've been attacked by birds in the past. Or your house has been taken at ransom by birds. What do you do?
What's the strategy?
What's your strategy there? So that was just a little story that I wrote down. So I was like, oh man, I gotta share this because it's it made me panicked for a second. No, I was like, what's going on?
I 100% understand this, man. We haven't talked much about animals on the podcast before, but for me, I've always struggled with animals. Like even this dog around here is not particularly the most fun thing for me. And in particular birds like magpies and things like that, and when there's multiple of them and so you can't keep an eye on all of them. So that's a situation there. Yeah, you're way bigger than the bird, but it doesn't need much to peck out an eye. And there's been ladies, there was one here in Brisbane recently, a really sad story where she had, I believe the story was she had one of those kind of like backpacks where you put your child in.
Oh yeah,
if you've seen it, so it's not on the front.
I did hear the story.
It's on the back, and a magpie swooped her or something like that. She fell over backwards onto her baby, and unfortunately, her newborn baby. And I'm guessing from brain damage. I think.
Not sure. And a crush to a baby. I'm sure we'd take it out.
Yeah, and that's scary enough as it is, but. Just the unpredictability is what gets me of animals. I some people say they understand animals. I don't. I can't put myself inside their brains and know what's going on.
I think the only ones that you can kind of think about it like that are dogs. To an extent, maybe cats.
Why do they keep on fucking chasing me then, Juan? Why?
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know
I'm
why.
like trying to be friendly to them and they still chase me.
Yeah, I'm unsure. I think that there's an aspect of dogs that just, at least tame dogs, that there's some understanding. But in other ways, there can be aspects when you're like, well, what's going on here?
See, this is where you probably could. There's someone screaming at the screen saying, yeah, but like there's so many telltale signs, the way they move their head, if they're, defensive or not, if they're crouching and things like that. So yeah, I could maybe see that, but that doesn't compute into my brain. It's not like things I can pick up in humans and see like, oh, frown, probably sad, frown, but with a crinkle in the eyes, oh, they're acting sad, like there's actually some joy maybe. There's nuanced emotions and things like that.
Have you, now that your brother's thinking of obtaining a dog and getting some dogs, has that changed your perception of wanting some pets?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. You reckon you'd be a person who'd never want pets?
look, I'd never want a pet. Whether I get one or not is a different
It's a different story, okay.
Because
if you were in a relationship with someone and they were like, I want to get 3 dogs.
that would probably be too much.
Too much,
I
okay.
don't think I'd be down for that. Even one dog, I'm not so sure. A cat, maybe, because they can kind of do their own things. You know, you don't have to look after them too much.
Yeah.
I've lived in a
I think this
house
might
with
be
a cat before.
You know how
That wasn't
sometimes
too
you've
bad.
talked about what type of female you'd like to be with, and I think of the most recent conversation, it's
dog.
an interesting chick, But I think it's going to be a hard one because maybe I haven't met too many females or people in general who don't want a dog.
Nah, you don't run in the right circles.
Yeah,
Well,
maybe I'm not running in the right circles, but there might be people out there who are like, oh yeah, I don't want a
Well,
pet
I mean,
at
like,
all.
yeah, maybe everyone wants a dog, but how many people actually have dogs? I don't know what the ownership numbers are, but it's certainly not everyone. I don't think
I
it's...
wouldn't imagine so.
I don't even know if it'd be 50%.
If I Google
50%
quickly how many
sounds a lot.
dogs there are in Australia, how much would you say?
Well, it depends if they're including dingoes as a dog.
I'm going to say
but-
how many domesticated dogs
Yeah,
in Australia.
I'd guess maybe 8 million.
Yeah, well, it's less than that. 5 million.
Yeah.
5 million dogs.
Dang, I was going to say 5.
Yeah.
Dang.
5 million dogs. So, yeah,
So that's not a lot,
Theoretically,
you know.
maybe one, and not even 1 in 5. Let's say 1 in 6 people because some have 2 and some have 3. That sort of level.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay.
But, you know,
Okay.
that's a lot of households. So maybe it's 1 in 4 households have dogs, something like that. But, yeah, certainly I think there's... yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many people have... Whether it be ethical reasons, whether it be just practical reasons on not having an animal.
What it made me think at the very least. I never want a bird. I never want a bird as a pet.
Yeah.
I like having a dog as a pet. I'm on the fence really whether I would want a cat. Like if someone got a cat, I'd be like, yeah, okay, fair. But I don't get as attached. My sister has a cat. I'm not attached to it whenever I go see it. Dogs for sure. Like I really enjoy dogs, and even then, dogs can have the irks about them. But when it gets into the level of perhaps a bird or a turtle or people have lizards, nah, not for me. There's no... I think in some of the unexpectedness of animals, it's like I don't find enough joy, I think, in taking care of animals like that to outweigh
never,
any
never.
of the negatives that you probably come along with it. So
Yeah. If I was going to have a pet, it'd be a red panda.
a red panda. Have you
Red
seen one?
panda. Yeah, yeah.
They're pretty cool.
They're
pretty
awesome.
Cool. They're, for those who don't know, they're actually quite small. Like if you
Yeah, tiny
picturing,
little things.
yeah. So like red
They're
panda's
big.
actually quite tiny, swings around on the tree. That'd be pretty good.
Yeah. Those videos of them just like throwing their hands
Throwing
up.
their hands
yeah,
up.
I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Yeah, what else was I going to say? Yeah, and like it's the variability. So the magpies that hang around the Calisthenic Park, they're cool. They're chill. They come up and they just wander around and they're not swooping me or anything like that. It's the minor birds there which are the problem. And it's like, well, I'm sure the magpies have a nest right there as well. Why else would they be hanging around this area all the time? But they're just cool there. So it's kind of like if animals were a bit more consistent. That's my problem with
If they were a
animals.
bit more consistent.
Bloody dogs. If you were more consistent, like if you all attacked me, that would be fine. If you all
You'd know
didn't
what to
attack me,
expect.
yeah, exactly. It's the coming into a situation being like, what's this one gonna do? You know, even so I went to South Bank yesterday. I think there's even a video that I have of when I was doing some sets, and one of the dogs that was there came into the picture who belonged to a new person who came along, and she had 2. She had a white, really white, fluffy one, don't know what it's called, and a Chihuahua. And the Chihuahua just it wasn't aggressive towards anyone, but it certainly wasn't making friends neither.
Right.
It wasn't a friendly Chihuahua, which I've heard is the general rule. Chihuahuas aren't kind of friendly. Have you heard that before?
I don't think I've ever met a Chihuahua.
Okay. Well, that's what they were saying anyway. And yeah, it was kind of like, okay, the fluffy white one I'll pat because it seems cool, but yeah, I don't know. It's complicated, man.
Unknown with a Chihuahua.
Unnecessary complications. If I got a pet, it would be an unnecessary complication in my life.
It would
for
be.
sure.
It would be.
Sure.
I think it's that though. So here's into another topic that I just noted down, which is, I think I'm in an incredibly comfortable spot. However, there's probably a necessity to be uncomfortable, to add someone, to be a little bit more uncomfortable, so that I can, whether it's for the sake of growth, for the sake of learning, for the sake of something, continue down the path that led me to the path that I got to here, if that makes sense. So I think you're saying, yes, if you were to get a pet, there was going to be some uncomfortableness that come to it, that for sure. But I think there's some learnings that you could get from looking after a pet.
I think it would be continual discomfort.
But there is learning in the continual discomfort for sure, right? So
I can do that without a pet though.
Oh, for sure. You can choose. Yeah, you can
just
choose
meditate all day.
Yeah, you can choose. You can choose discomfort for sure. I think it's just it's an option. It's an option that you can do. Like right now, there's a magpie behind you, and it's about to attack. The thing I was like in my mind, I'm thinking is, I've seen whispers of it in the wind for me, where things like the Mere Mortals Web 3 thing. I haven't necessarily uptaken it to do it in any haste, and other things have obviously been going on in life at the moment to not make me prioritize it. But I also, when I really think it through, I'll go, well, I'm in a good spot. Like right now, work-life balance is beautiful. Like it's the balance I would want it. There's nothing really challenging there. There's things in the way that I'm really looking forward to. Fitness has never been better. Like I went through, I guess, a period maybe 2 years ago where I thought, I'm getting weaker in certain ways and I'm getting injured in other ways. And now I've sort of kind of, for whatever reason, kind of gone past that point. And now there's really no injuries. There's a lot of things I'm able to do now and more quite easily, successfully. Even things with food. So I'm like, it all feels fine. And I guess it almost feels like I'm just like, I'm content now. Like I'm really content, super happy, which is really good. But there's also the whispers of, I don't really have to do that because I'm content. Like I'm in a happy spot. I'm in a safe spot. And I guess it's also in the knowledge that you're in that safe spot, it can be good, but it can also be the understanding, okay, that means that there's something else, another challenge that should be ahead for me. Or else I know that it'll become the monotonous, boring thing that, as human mindset will normally tend to move it to. It'll get itself to that. So what once was like this content, super beautiful, happy thing, will just feel like the same old. So I'm, I guess it's something that I'm pondering in the sense of, I think fitness is what's going to change it more so than anything else. Because in the past, I've always thought in this regard of, that means maybe I need to go and work in this space. Maybe I need to go and learn this other new thing, or I want to do whatever. Where now I almost think like the modulator of that is more fitness to do the change up, because I'm like, could I really go and like be bothered to become a teacher or to go and do this? And I'm like, you know what? No, that's not the aspect of my life that I want to change predominantly that much to incite the newness of it. But what I've been finding myself doing more and more is, introducing swimming and running and doing different things or different ways of doing the same sort of training that's like just enough for it to be different enough, I guess. So, I guess I'm very much a person, and if the Mere Mortals haven't picked this up yet, you might as I'm talking through this, that after a while I'll be very content. I'll be happy with it, but I just know in myself that after a while I'll become itchy feet for something else. To change it up. I don't know. I don't think that's something that you find altogether that much, because it seems like you've talked about it before in a discipline of doing sort of the same thing, similar things to progress a particular aspect. And it doesn't strike me that for you could continue doing handstand works and gymnastic sort of work for 5 years, 10 years in the same sort of style, but just linear progression or the like, or undulating progression, and be
fucking
totally
wish it was
fine
linear.
with it. Yeah, that's true. And be happy with it. I think that in myself, I know that that's not the case, but it's just being able to be in the know of, I can modulate aspects of it. It doesn't have to mean like everything has to change. Maybe like a younger one would have been like, okay, cool, maybe I can go to Sydney and I can go and work in bigger areas, or I can be better connected and stuff like that. Where I was like, you know what? Like there's a conscious effort of like that I don't need to go to a higher plane in a work perspective or like it.
Full wholesale changes.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right, man. Even though I'm doing the same thing, it's different because there's a progression of some sort. Although even then, I'm kind of more comfortable at plateaus than maybe most people would be. I remember when I was going to the gym and just reading gym advice and things like that, and it was always talking about plateaus, and it never connected with me. It never made me go, oh man, this is me. I feel this. I need to get past my plateaus. I was always just comfortable being, if nothing much is happening for this month and the next month and the next month, that's cool. I'll do it for another month.
Another month, yep.
But yeah, you're right. I don't need big wholesale changes so much. Although you have been on that topic, so a lot of things seem to be happening to people around me. So you already mentioned, my brother moving into a new place, getting some dogs potentially. It's a good friend of ours, Joey, episode 5, is getting married. Even some other people in like other friend groups are taking what I'd called adult steps. They're moving into what you would most people would say are like, oh, that's an adult decision that they're making there, and things like that. And if anything, I just see myself becoming more selfish and more childish in many ways. And it has actually got I want all the things. And one of the things that I've been thinking of recently is am I being too selfish for kind of current Kyron, which is in the sense that when I look at what I want in 5-10 years time, what I'm doing now doesn't match on 100% to that. It like what I kind of imagine and envision that guy wanting, and this is where it gets difficult because it's sometimes you want things and then you actually get them and it's like, oh, I didn't want that. But I look at myself and I'd go like money, for example. We rarely discuss it on this show because it's relatively boring for both of us. And yet we both acknowledge how important it is and how often it gets talked about just in other planes and spheres, and it is necessary to live, just live in general. You need to feed yourself, you need to buy things, pay for rent and stuff like that.
Gotta buy Bitcoin somehow.
We've got to, exactly. Yeah, I'm not good at robbing people, so that's the only way I can really get it. And when I look at my decision, almost bordering on 6 years now to leave the 9-to-5 I had, although it was more of a 40-hour 1 week, 50 something the other week. I just look at that and I'm like, I can't do that grind. I just cannot do it at this very moment. There's absolutely no incentive for me to do that. And I'm just thinking like, will future Kyron look back on that and just kind of regret that? Because even though I don't want it and I don't need it, what about an unborn child that I want to have, or what about a future partner or something like that? And I don't know. Do you get the feeling I'm being selfish, Juan? What do you reckon?
Yes. For sure. The answer to that question is I bet you, I'm going to say with 100% certainty that you will regret it. But it's in the answer that you will regret it no matter what choice you had to make. If you were to choose the 9-to-5, you're going to regret it in a couple of years. If you didn't, if you're not going to choose it, you better believe you're going to regret it, for in whatever way, shape, or form, something's going to come up as part of life where it'll be like, if you had done that, then you could have achieved, done, succeeded in whatever, right? Whatever it might have been. Even as simple as something like, say that for whatever purpose you want to move in, whether it's rent out somewhere else or live somewhere else, and someone's like, oh, actually, no, you can't rent out this place because we have no proof of income, or something like to that effect, right? Little things like that might come into play, not be huge things, but be like, oh shit, there's going to be some regret there.
Okay, well that's not super useful. How about when I was talking about there's a couple of things where I think they could have been big regrets, and this would have been staying with a partner who I didn't think was kind of suited for me in the long term, and even though I was kind of continuing that relationship on, and it was falling into a steady rhythm where I could kind of see 20 years down the future, and then also not traveling Latin America for fear. And those two I think would have been regrets that would have stayed with me forever.
That doesn't seem like a regret that will say for you. For sure.
That's what I'm feeling, but man, I'm willing to be proved wrong if someone can convince me.
I think the regret that you will find, it will be in instances where, let's take the example that you will find a really interesting chick, like a really interesting chick. Maybe she does do handstands, and you find her doing stuff, but she also works 9 to 5, or she might be a doctor, something to that effect, right? And maybe she has a variable thing, and she or that individual just won't be able to click with someone who doesn't do that. You know, I've had this experience talking to people in the past where even someone who is incredibly well off, they will not enjoy interacting because there's an aspect of this person just kind of like hanging out, chilling out, not really doing much else, that polarizes their view to the day-to-day life of what a normal societal day looks like, you know. So when it comes to conversations of, oh yeah, you know, have you seen that new train line? Or, you know, oh yeah, we're gonna take the weekend to go do this, and even like the conversations of weekends. I struggle
with those. Yeah.
When for you it's kind of like, well, it kind of works a little bit different for you. You know, it might seem like small things, but I think that there's going to be some embedded regret there because it's just not part of the normal societal spin.
Yeah.
Now, in the opposite way, I think everybody will regret being in the 9 to 5. In the sense that you're going to look back and be like, holy crap, I didn't spend all this time actually chasing things that I wanted to do, etc. So there's going to be a balance.
All that time I spend, you know, stamping those forms or filling out those incident reports, you know.
So both ways you're going to have regrets. I don't think that either of those, though. I think the working approach is probably more likely to give you the, oh my god, this is an overwhelming regret. I am really, really going to regret it. I think the other one will just give you little bursts of regret and be like, damn, if I actually had done this, I could have achieved this. But it more in the sense of, oh well, cool, let's move on. The other part though of that is, of course, man, dude, like we're incredibly selfish. I think most humans are incredibly selfish for like a ton of things, and I think that's why I sort of asked you how your routine would change when with your partner, right? So let's just fast forward into the future, and so, you know, when you have a partner and, you know, have kids or you have dogs or whatever it may be, just by force you have to be less selfish. Like you have to, in some way, shape or form, stop doing the things that you want to do for the benefit of others. I think just everyone has that challenge. I think you probably begin life much more selfish for right reasons and wrong reasons, and then either by the force of life or unforced things of life, you just start becoming less selfish among certain things. So I saw myself in that in a lot of training. So even 3 years ago, let's say, my training was, I really wanted to train this much, and if I wanted to do double sessions, I was going to do double sessions, and there was discipline for sure, don't get me wrong, but there was also a layer of selfishness in the sense that this matters more to me than going to see this friend, or this matters more to me than going and talking to the fam for this, because this is my thing and I really want to do it. Now there's moving, like, I think forward for me, there's aspects of it being like, I want to, damn, like I really want to, but like I can see how that is an act of much more selfishness, as opposed to maybe someone else who needs to supporting somebody else, helping out somebody else because it might benefit them, and it might benefit them less than it benefits you in a total scheme of things, but that might be the right thing to go and do for the relationship, for the connection, for the network, whatever it may be. And so I think it's always a battle of being less selfish, and I would say realistically, until someone has a few dependent people on them, then you're always going to be selfish. Like I still feel like I know I'm still selfish in a lot of ways, and it'll probably take a while to lose a lot of that selfishness, because I still feel like, oh well, I want to achieve this, I want to do these things. Am I saying that you should completely get rid of that? No. In the flip side, you know, when you see the greatest of whatever particular fields, you know, not all the time, but a particular field where you need a lot of time, hell yeah, they're like known as like the greatest, they did like the most fantastic thing, XYZ, and then they left a strewn of destroyed, you know, relationships and connections and whatever, and you go and look into the detail of it, and it's like, yep, they spent 10 hours training or 10 hours focusing on every day, and they became like incredibly good. Everything else is complete shit though. Yeah. So example, David Goggins, you know, I'll finish off the book and I'll do a book review on it when I came back from Tassie, but he talked to you read through the whole book, dudes was like going gangbusters at it, running like 40 miles a day, swimming, biking, did like the pull-up record, all that sort of stuff, like awesome. You'd imagine like freaking good, but there's only little whispers and bits and bobs in here where it's like, oh, you know, my partner at the time, I think it's Catherine, starts with a K, looked after him and taped up his toes and all this sort of stuff. By the next chapter, he's talking about the next challenge. Dude's already, they've already gone through divorce, right? So it's like, obviously it's a single focus onto that, but it just like destroys everything else. So would you say that David Goggins is being selfish? Fucking absolutely. Holy shit, he's being like super selfish for like his own reasons. And like, I think that's when you, at the end of your days, will you look back and go, shit, I really regretted being so selfish, because now people just maybe despise me. Like, they don't want to interact with me because I'm so selfish. And so you might have succeeded at something. Like, you might have achieved the thing you wanted to achieve, but around you, there's just people who despise you because you were just so selfish to want it. And then it's like, it would have been better if you just achieved 50% of the things, but then have the people around you who hang on with you. And so it's not exactly the same, but it's a little bit similar to the 9 to 5. There's going to be an aspect of the people who was really successful. Now, we're talking financially here, who sold their business or whatever. You think, like, you know, does everyone really enjoy hanging out with them? For the most part, no. A lot of people in the normal day 9 to 5 kind of don't understand them. They kind of be like, they did this thing, they were lucky, they were whatever. And shit, they might have been lucky, but hell, they probably went through like a lot of risk and whatever to put them there.
Created that luck, yeah.
Yeah, they created that luck and they put a lot of effort, but it still puts them outside. It puts them in a different area of the world, of humanity, of the network, than a normal 9 to 5, a normal individual just probably doesn't understand. And fine, like that's fair enough, and that happens, and you might have reached a success. But holy hell, if say someone gets to that spot and then finds like, fuck, I just want to like enjoy life and be like the 9 to 5 and just or have a weekend with people and enjoy that. You kind of have to balance it. Like, am I going to regret that more for that purpose? But yeah, to your answer, are we selfish? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's a couple of other things from that was the work aspect. So even though it feels like I'm doing a lot of stuff now, none of it's really work. Like, I enjoy most of it. You know, granted, editing the videos sometimes feels like, for example, the other night, what night was it? It was Wednesday after the live one. I just wanted to get it all edited and stuff, and so I didn't end up getting to bed until kind of like 1-ish, like right on the dot of 1 that evening after eating dinner. And you know, that kind of had a little bit of a work feel to it, but it's nothing compared to what I remember work, 9 to 5 work feeling like, and that grind. And I think I want to do an episode one day, maybe a musings, talking about the kind of like weariness that can come from that, because I look at myself back then, and there was all sorts of weird things that were going on which just don't happen now. So there was that aspect, and yeah, it's a bit of a catch-22 of wanting all the things and then not wanting to do some things. A great book, by the way, Catch-22. If you haven't read it, check that out. All right, we've talked about being selfish a lot. So here's some stuff where I think we're not too selfish. So we didn't particularly celebrate it, but we've gone past 3 years of podcasting now.
Oh yeah, September. Yeah.
September 15 was the very first episode that we released, and one of the I've got a new learning which occurred this last week. So this is a new learning for those who are maybe podcasting and want to get better at it, or you know, we have a lot of podcasters who tune into our stuff as well. And for me, the learning is sweat the small stuff. So usually people say don't sweat the small stuff. I'm saying sweat the small stuff. Yeah, I agree. And this in particular, the nuance of this is I was listening to a show called America Plus. Now, this was a show I reviewed on the Value for Value podcast because Cole reached out, and when I look at the kind of starting point of that to a thing that kind of blew my mind this last week, there's so many small steps. So 1, I asked for people to send in show recommendations. 2, he sent in one. 3, I checked it out. I actually implemented my own advice. You know, I could have just been saying, oh yeah, send in something, and then I just ignore it.
Yeah.
3, I checked out his show, and initially there was only one episode with a kind of like broken link. Oh yeah. I just went, oh, why would you even bother sending this in, Cole? Like, what the fuck? Spent the time to figure out, oh, this was a duplicate, and it was actually
another one.
And he actually had released a whole bunch of episodes. You know, created that, and then even though I wouldn't say his show is my particular taste, it's not one that I need to listen to all the time. You know, I have spent time just going back and forth every now and then. You know, if there's an interaction that I have with him, check out another one of his episodes. And he sent a boostergram not too long ago for the value for value for the split I included him. So I was, I should check out one of his latest episodes. And as I was doing it, he's gotten a new Rodecaster mic, the Rodecaster Pro, which is the kind of dashboard to be able to play like little jingles and snippets and things, which isn't our style, so I don't think we will ever do.
Nope.
And he's been playing around with them, and he's got like a bunch of the booster ones. So there's the boost and mic drop and things like that.
Yep.
And then there was one where it was our voices going booster. And if you recall, I got us to do this a while ago so I could create some snippets. Once again, like all these small things, I'd put them up online on the Mastodon somewhere, but I didn't ever bother to put them in the GitHub repository where all of them live and things like that. So someone's obviously taken them, putting them into there, and then he at some point has taken and put them into his own show.
That's cool.
Whether he knows it's us or not, I have no idea. I'll find out shortly. But yeah, I was just going like, damn, that kind of interaction of just hearing, randomly coming across something we created on another person's show was like fucking so cool.
That's actually really cool.
And I think that sweating the small stuff when it comes to like these tiny little interactions where, you know, you could just put it off. For example, we did some voice recordings for Apple for the Teacher, Anna. And she does like a celebratory episode when she reaches a certain level or a certain milestone, and creates this whole big narrative. And we did that, it feels like more than a year ago. Maybe it was 2 years ago that we did it for the first time.
Maybe.
Yeah, anywho, we don't have to do those things, but I think those small little steps can end up creating something that is really cool. And so, yeah, if you're starting out a podcast or something like that, I think it is latching onto those small little things where it's like, I don't know if I should do that or not. Like, might seem like a little bit of waste of time. Yeah, it can have some benefits sometimes. And then other times, of course, you can do all sorts of things and nothing happens.
That's true. Why did that learning come though with sweat the small stuff?
So I think it was just like you can actually have an impact on other people by doing like these small and an impact can be had on you by doing small little things which feel like maybe if you like really rationally analyzed it and went, you know, if I was in full productivity mode trying to utilize every minute of my day to the maximum, I don't think a single one of those steps would have been in my plan of been like, this is how I'm going to maximize, you know, getting my show out there. There's, you know, if the goal was to have other people kind of reuse some of our content, I don't think any of those steps would have been in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just a little fun thing, like a cool interaction, which I thought was born from something like kind of innocuous in a way.
Yeah. No. I think what threw me was like the don't sweat the small stuff or sweat the small stuff is more around like detail orientated. That's the saying around, you know, don't worry about the details of being a perfectionist.
Yeah, I might have slightly used that for my own purposes.
I was like, am I missing something here? Like, am I missing like another point of this? But yeah, for sure. I think and it comes down to, I think it's the aspect of marketing. Marketing anything. It's sometimes large investments can reap you large rewards, and sometimes they don't. But sometimes it's the little tiny things that you might do to somebody you talk to, and there's not just marketing. There's anything that you might do, and they might reciprocate in a larger way, or it gets, you know, blown up in value for you for, you know, no extra effort that you took part in. Perhaps it's we might talk to someone on the street and help them out and be like, oh, you know, we're doing this podcast, and take the time, and maybe they're having a shitty day and it helps them out, and all of a sudden they're like a gigantic YouTuber or something, and they share it out, and it goes really well. But the intent of you wasn't to try to make anything happen, but it just did because you did take on that opportunity. Now, yes, don't get on the opposite side and do every opportunity that comes your way, because that's also going to be potentially a challenge. But maybe right at the beginning, you do have to do is as many things as possible just to get your voice heard to some extremity. And then once the flywheel's moving, then cool, let it move.
Well, this is I guess getting into what we were talking about the last week on 335, which was the experimentation and not doing enough of it. And so I'm starting to take some more steps to do more little silly things like that, which maybe don't make super rational sense, but in the grand scheme of it is actually pretty practical in terms of achieving a goal of some sort. So
what's an example? Can you give us an example of that?
Yeah, so I just got myself 3 NFTs, Juan.
Oh yeah, well, all these NFTs. Yeah, explain to me this NFT.
So it's this thing called Uncut .FM, and once again, this is like a random show. So it's Mark Savant. I've followed him from this was back when I was adding people 2 years ago, and he's sort of just hung around, and I've still had the YouTube channel subscribed to it, and I'd maybe once in a while check in, and he's probably around. It's hard to tell, but his YouTube content, I would say he puts more effort in than us and gets less rewards, which is makes me feel kind of like sad because he
puts a lot of effort.
Yep. Yeah, he puts in tons of effort and is still getting like 20 views for a video. Although he has had one blow up to like 500k or something, so he's done something good. And it was just a random conversation he had on, and I just saw it was talking about like, I can't remember the exact wording, but it's kind of included NFTs and something related to value for value, but not that term in the title. And I'd clicked on it, checked it out, and it was basically a platform where I thought it was one of those ones where they're just trying to lock you into their platform, as in, come over here, we've got this cool thing, you can review a podcast, you can chat with the audience directly in here, but it's like only in there.
Oh, I got you, yeah.
Which is why I actually like Podcasting 2.0, because it's everywhere. They're trying to create the namespace. Anywho, his thing was like, basically, look, we're creating a thing where we'll help you create NFTs for your audience of some sort, but they also allow and these are on the Polygon network, so they're really cheap, and you can they're trying to help people say create one for each individual episode, or maybe you create an NFT and the person who has it has the right to put 1 minute of audio into one of your upcoming episodes or things like that. And at first I was like, I don't know about this, but I don't know. The more Carlos, there's the guy who created it, spoke, he kind of seemed to be on the same board in terms of value for value. Yeah. But just doing it in a completely different way rather than micropayments and through Satoshis like we do.
Through NFTs.
So I just went onto the platform, just tried it out, and I don't know. I've joined their Discord. I'll see if anything cool comes from it. Maybe.
So you did purchase the NFTs?
So I didn't even have to. They were like free. Gotcha. So they're free ones. So all I had to do was click on it to gain access to, their community kind of. And I'll spend a bit of time there just checking that out. See if it follows the kind of things that I care about in terms of. Actually, not getting locked into a platform, actually having some sort of decentralization so that, I can move stuff around or enable my audience to do whatever they want. But that sort of experimentation, that was fun. And that didn't take too much effort on my part.
What sort of imagery do they use for their NFTs?
I don't know, man. There's some good ones.
Well, like the free ones that you got, what do they look like?
I'll put them on the screen and I'll show you later. But they're good looking. They're good looking. They're not like
they're not
they're not like a random JPEG that has been created. And there's I was just scrolling through their kind of marketplace that they've got on there, and they had some podcasts which had there was one called like Bad Crypto or something like that, and they had a full kind of rotating player card type thing with their logo in like neon lights kind of thing on the back, and then this concave looking photo so that it looked like the card was bending inward and things. And I was like, damn, it's not just like some half-ass thing that people are using this for. There's some actual thought and intention behind it.
Gotcha. That sounds like a cookie cutter Blender creation
It could be,
model.
but I don't know. I haven't explored enough of those things.
Yeah,
but.
it's cool. I mean, I haven't heard anything about like NFTs and podcasting and the like. So it'd be
Yeah,
interesting to see what
I'm starting
playing
to
with.
hear more of it. I know there are companies trying to do it. I get the feeling some of them are trying to do the more lockdown, only our company, and you can only use it this way, rather than following the kind of the philosophy of
like less open sourcing, less decentralized, more
so
conglomerated.
I'm going to spend a bit of time looking at those sorts of things as well, and this is related to value for value, because even though I love what Adam and Dave are doing, and it's what got me hooked and in, I want to see how this can be done elsewhere. Like, I'm even thinking of one recent thought going through my mind has been setting up like a little handstand show and busking, and because that's kind of that is value for value. You're literally doing something for someone, and then they choose to put in whatever they want. And I'd love to see what the dynamic of that is, kind of face to face with a non-digital product, rather than as we've been doing here through the podcast. So.
In what way? What would fascinate you about that?
Well, just how different it is, like how you do the ask differently. For example, do you try and do it more communicating directly with the person? Is it better to do it with like a billboard or something like that? Are there any tips and tricks that buskers do that could be applied into the kind of digital realm and things like that? So there's the standard, you put out your hat and you already put some money in it, so it already looks like people are contributing, that sort of thing. I think there could be some lessons from that, which would I'm interested in the value for value as a whole, and check out the next episode 339, because I've got a piece on that, a section on that.
Yeah. I'm trying to conceptualize in my mind, because that just sounds batshit crazy. I'm like, what the hell? What kind of individual here is just going to be busking for their own reason? I'm sure there'd be other people out there being like, what? Why would he be wanting to busk like that? But I guess
I'm practically doing it anyway, man. So many
just
people
without the money.
Yeah, just like all I need to do to start is just
all these people are just seeing this man out there for 3 hours, pitying him, like, man, this dude just always out here just doing handstands.
He never makes any money.
God, maybe. But yeah, I can see that there might be some like learnings that you could pick up and translate into that. To me, it sounds like it almost sounds like you're doing that for that purpose. It almost sounds like that, but then a part of me thinks like, that just sounds like you're wanting more attention to when you're doing handstands.
Look, there is a tiny element of that, but when I go to South Bank, for example, when I'm without my friends there, if I get there early and I'm starting to like stretch and warm up, I'd much rather not be there. I'd much rather be in my own kind of secluded spot. So there was a period where I was testing that out, but I think I've kind of found, I prefer more to do it on my own, unless I'm with other people, in which case it's more of a jocular, like a joking, fun environment. If it's just me and getting that attention, I don't know.
That's what makes me think. Like, I'm like, I get the busking aspect of it, but like in my mind, I'm just picturing it being like people coming over every 5 minutes, or even like sooner, kind of being like, can you do this? Can you do that? I'd just be like frustrated, because at that point you're not really doing handstand work.
Well, this is what I mean. It would be a show, so I wouldn't be doing it for traiing purposes. I'd probably try and do it with Brendan. Maybe maybe like set up some music and do that. It wouldn't just be doing a handstand, because that's kind of uninteresting. Like it would need to have an artistic element to it for sure.
No, I can see. Okay, yeah. I can see it. I can see it now. If it's like a show, show of sorts, I think my initial view was like, and people might have been like, "What?" So Karen wants to go busk.
Just check me out doing a handstand. No.
Yeah. Okay, and then that would be cool. Like to do like schedule it in. Like we'll because essentially he's catching up with friends and then doing like a show of things, and like it might entertain people. So again, there's value for people, and you've got value inherently in doing it. Not too dissimilar to the way that I might do a podcast, and it's a way of me expressing myself and my ideas. It's a way of you catching up with friends and doing stuff. Yeah. And you might be giving value to someone else.
I get what you imagine. It'd be like when we go out to the park, similar to how we are now, but out in South Bank, and we put out a hat and ask for value. Yeah. And it's like, no one's getting value from it. They're just watching two guys talking on microphones. They're not even a part of it. So yeah, no, not in that sense.
Yeah,
no,
that would be interesting. That would be an interesting thing to do, like a show, and like set it up again with a cadence and stuff like that, and be like, hey, let's do that.
Yeah,
and,
not regular training. I should have stressed
and
that.
I would go further beyond, and I think that it would be, if you were to do that, I would probably also put up a sign saying like all donations that come in, we'll just donate them to like the whatever top 3 thing here is. So we might do like a
charities.
Well, that's what I mean. You might do like at the very end, like, okay, Karen here supporting this cancer, and Brendan's doing this one, and whoever holds the handstand for the longest, that's where all the money's going to go.
Okay,
and that can be like the finale of the show sort of thing.
Like
so people are like, oh, we'll come back
at
this time to see it, and then it just goes to that. So it might be like, and in part that I think that maybe then you reduce the selfishness or the attraction that would be in that, and then you find perhaps some more learnings for the value for value model. Because I wonder if for us, if we started talking about the fact of, let's donate all the money. Let's donate all the money for like what we're doing. No, not all we're doing, but like, so we go like, okay, all the money that comes through, 20% of it is going to go to donate to whatever. So is it still going? All right. So you might be feeling that this is a slightly disjointed audio, folks, to what you just saw, and perhaps a different video. And that is because, as you might have seen from previous Mere Mortal episodes, the laptop, which we had issues with, specifically with RAM, now has battery issues.
Oh yeah, lucky me, right?
So lucky Karen now has to get even more selfish and focus more time on his own computer to get this fixed up. But alas, we'll leave it at there, Mere Mortalites, for today's session.
We were drawing it in to a close anyway, so it was it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, there wasn't anything that was missed there. So again, look, if there was any value in the precursory before this all absolutely took a dive for the batteries worse, feel free to send through a boostergram, continue streaming through with Satoshis in the use of any of the podcasting 2.0 apps that are out there. We are value for value enabled, so obviously supporting us through those manners are the best way possible. We're going to finish it off here for now, and I hope you enjoy wherever you are in the world. Juan out.
Karen out.
Good.